This year's Rugby League Grand Finalist is being decided, with Norths playing Canberra in the preliminary final. The winner will play the Canterbury Bulldogs, a tight-knit organisation, long regarded as League's family club and coached by one of its proudest sons, Chris Anderson. Tim Sheridan spent this week with the Bulldog, who keeps the family business winning.
I just love this place. I love the atmosphere of just the slowness of the country life. I think, you know, football's just all go and hectic stuff. I think I just love getting out here and being on my own. Like, I come out a lot on my own and just ride around and tend not to think about much at all. You know, whatever pops into your mind, but not a great deal. I just enjoy not thinking. It's strange, isn't it? No, it's not.
To bearing fruit. He's one win away from every coach's dream. It would also be the ultimate victory for Rugby League's family club, because Canterbury is where blood runs thicker than Gatorade, where the daughter of the chief executive aggressively markets the club her husband coaches, where the son of the general manager will play next Sunday, and where brothers in first grade together has been a common occurrence over the years. The word family is used here in its literal and extended sense.
I find it comfortable with family, Gary and Chris and Lynn, because family are people who come to work on time, they'll work hard for you, they love the club. So I feel very comfortable with them around because of their heart and soul's here.
Affectionately known as Bullfrog, 25 years ago, one of Peter Moore's first player recruitments was a 17-year-old from central New South Wales.
Well, I was still in fifth form at the end of the year for the semi-finals and sat me on the bench. And I ended up getting a bit of a run in third grade then, as it was. They just sat me for a bit of atmosphere and I thought the game was lost, so they threw me on. But that was my first introduction to Sydney football.
You won the match for them though, didn't you?
Yeah, in the final, scored a couple of tries there. And we just got pipped in the grand final, I think.
Chris Anderson played on the wing. He had speed and fine anticipation, enough to earn him 2 kangaroo tours and a record-breaking 15 seasons with Canterbury. This try against Wests in 1979 helped the Dogs into another grand final, which they lost. But for a team carefully built over the previous decade, it was just a dress rehearsal. The following year, 1980, they won the title in spectacular fashion.
Oh, lovely pass to Anderson. He's under the post. Put the glasses down. Great football by Canterbury.
The Bulldogs became known as the Entertainers, with a brand of football worthy of the tag.
We are the mighty Bulldogs, the Canterbury breed.
But by the mid-80s, the Canterbury style had made a complete about-face under coach Warren Ryan. They won 2 titles, but the Entertainers had become the game's boa constrictors, defensively crushing their way to victory. Anderson had gone to England to finish his career as a player, but after resurrecting the fortunes of Halifax as captain, fell into the coaching job.
And I was just going to take my family to England for a season, play a season over there, have a look around Europe and come back and get a real job. That was the idea. I had no thoughts of coaching at all.
A winger who didn't want to coach, that's hardly a natural, is it?
No, well, you wouldn't, if you're looking for a thoroughbred, you wouldn't have come looking for me, probably, no.
Anderson was appointed to the Canterbury job in 1990, and things weren't easy. First up, there was the obvious talk of a father-in-law's favour, and family ties were put to a severe test when half the first-grade team walked at the end of 1991.
Oh, we've been through tough times, mate. We lost 7 representative players in 1991. They were tough times. That's when you bind together. That's when the family strength comes out. Because when the game's tough, you work together to get out of it.
Big thing for me is doing well with the senior players. That's something I learned. I think, you know, I probably didn't have that when we lost those 7 internationals. I come in and I might have come in a little bit hard, and I didn't have the credibility with those senior players. You know, that was much my fault as well. It was a good lesson for me to learn. I was lucky to survive that, probably losing 7 internationals and keeping the coach, and all they get rid of the coach and keep the 7 internationals. That was one of my best efforts as coach, I think, to stay there. It's a good one, that one, Marty.
Sure. Senior players cannot be coached. It's many years too late. Sometimes Anderson does no more at training than keep his most valuable player off the paddock.
Go on.
I'm fullback. I'll
No,
just stay here.
no.
I'll just fullback.
You run, you can't help yourself.
No, I'm fullback.
You can't help yourself.
You said I can stay here.
You don't want to run here and not run on Sunday week.
I'll be there.
Go on. Yeah. Go and do some weights.
If Terry Lamb's ageing knees are Canterbury's most delicate possession, his football intuition runs a close second. Anderson's skill has been to use him as a line of communication to the ranks.
I think he knows when not to get too close to players and when to stay away. You know, I think you've got to put a fine line between being a real good mate and a coach, and I think you can't be too close to a person, because if you're too close and you've got to drop them, well, it sort of puts a bit of friction between the people themselves. So he knows how to do it and when to do it.
The club now is an enjoyable place to come. I think any player that comes to the club enjoys himself, whether they achieve their ultimate dream or not. But I think if they come to this club, they'll achieve what they can achieve.
But an image described as close-knit, inward-looking and tribal has always hovered around the Bulldogs. One of Canterbury's talented Smith brothers, Darren Smith's decision to go elsewhere next year drew a ruthless response. He was dropped.
Human nature is such that when it's really tough and hard in that final 15 minutes or the final 5 minutes of a heavy game where one little thing can go against you, I'd rather go with a bloke that I know is accountable, and he's going to be with us next year, so he's going to, deep down, he's going to give you that 150%. He's not going to, there's no easy way out for him. One other thing, Kev became a dad this morning. The Bullfrog gave me $100 to go over to the Sefton pub and buy him a drink. So I think we should all go over and have a drink with Kev.
Halfback Kevin Moore presented Bullfrog with a grandson this week, another reason to celebrate, but also one to remind Chris Anderson of the philosophy that keeps him sane.
You know, football's not the only thing in the world. It's a good job. I enjoy doing it. But, you know, if it finishes tomorrow, there'll be something else come along. Horse riding, maybe. I'll have to improve that a bit too, won't I? I'll make a quid out of it.
Anderson's cold analysis of his riding skills says even more about his outlook as coach. The saying in league is that if you don't have the cattle, forget about the premiership. If you have got them, the only crime you can commit is to stifle ability.
The group motivation motivates the rest of them. If you get the group working together, I think that's the strongest thing in the world. You know, for me, the mind's what it's all about. It's not me so much teaching in football. I think 40% of what I do is football, 60% is man management. That's the most important thing. And there's no written down psych on how you do that. It's just, you've got to be there in the pub with them, you've got to be there on the football with them, you've got to back them up when they need backing up, you've got to give them a smack on the wrist when they need a smack on the wrist. But knowing that you're either good at it or you're not, and I seem to be doing okay at it.